Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes. This is Viable, the video series where we take a closer look at squads, gear, theorycraft. We need to come up with a new name for this. This one's a little long. Early returns are coming in, and the reasons why we were all excited for the Traya Omicron are proving out. We're going to jump right into the footage after the gameplay. I'll talk more about thought process, the Amis, more details, whatever, for those who want to stick around for that. But here on this channel, try to keep these preambles short and get right into the important information. My relevant Sith for this battle were all Gear 12. First thing I wanted to test was Nihilus lead. We'll talk more about why during the footage or after. I had a tough match, so my options for where to use my Traya Ami were a little limited. I opted for this Dash squad here, which I think is a little bit more valuable than the Mon Mothma, Padme Iden, or BAM teams that were my alternate choices. So first thing is going to be this big, scary AoE from Dash, and that triggers the effects of the Omicron right from the start, knocks Nihilus below 90% health and Cyan as well, so you can see Hatred we can go into right away. I go for the Dispel with Traya, who's coming up next. I've got Isolate. I'm leaving it off of Nihilus because I want to just prove and confirm that we're going to get a first turn Annihilate here. Then I take a moment to think through my moves. We target Dash and immediately annihilate him on the first turn. And from here, this is an easy match. There's not enough relics here for it to be a larger threat beyond that. And the reason we're going with Nihilus lead is because he's converting all of his protection into health. So we're not waiting until the protection is eliminated before the enemy starts doing damage to the health pool. And then the protection up bonus was a nice little surprise I didn't really think about in my theory crafting, but to see it be triggered and to have an effect like that, I'm pretty happy with that. Made it a little bit more survivable at Gear 12 than I was a little afraid of, and makes me start to wonder what the punching up opportunities are going to be for this squad. At Relics, it's going to do a lot more. I think other squads, this could have struggled a little bit up against, but I'm happy that it survived that initial volley and to get this pretty easy clear with it. This is going to be an Omicron that all players should have regardless of gear level. It's going to be that impactful. Over the coming days and weeks, we'll figure out the optimal use, which squads let her punch up the most. There's already some indication that she can counter GLs at a high relics. We'll figure out the best lead, Traya, Melgus, whoever, whether or not the Talon Omicron is a necessity, and how we're going to divide up these Sith. But to know under a Nihilus lead we can get a first turn Annihilate opens up some interesting possibilities for the kinds of counters that we're going to have available through this new Omicron. Everyone's already broken down this Omicron. We had our own video about this last week. I'll throw it in one of the end cards. But the major portions to highlight here are the 10% bonus protection stacking when Sith allies get a debuff, the stacking offense, that's what's making some of these higher level counters possible, and the part that I wanted to emphasize with this Nihilus lead is when Nihilus, Cyan, or Talon fall below 90% health for the first time, their cooldowns reset. That's what the Nihilus lead exploits, and why I was less interested in like a Melgus lead, because with all the protection and survivability that Melgus is offering, it might not trigger the effects of this Omicron until later in the battle when you may have gotten there on your own. But under Nihilus lead, and you don't need the Zeta for this because who cares about this health steal, is all of the protection is converted into health. So your opponent isn't going to have to churn through the protection before the refresh gets triggered. And that combination between this leadership and the Omicron is how we're triggering that first turn Annihilate. The only thing I'm concerned about is whether or not the stacking bonus protection is working as intended under Nihilus lead, or if that's something that CG is going to tweak down the line. A quick look at my mods for those who are interested. This is not optimal modding. This is just what happened to be on these characters. They're decently modded though. My Traya is at 234 speed, Scion at 260, and I do think turn order is a little important here. We'll go back to the footage for that. And my Nihilus at 221. Obviously not great, but these are Gear 12 characters that were really only being used for really Radis counters these days, and that's plenty good for that. But when we check out the gameplay, you can see the sequencing that happens here. There's that AoE, another AoE, another AoE, and then Scion gets to go. Him being the fastest, because I like to get him taunting with pain, but he's able to dispel now. The more important one here is Traya going before Nihilus, because Traya is able to neutralize that taunt by throwing down the Isolate, which frees up Nihilus to be able to annihilate whoever he wants. I'll be posting the Grand Arena later, but I didn't want to delay on uploading this video. My thoughts on the Traya Omicron, if you want to see what I thought before getting to test it, is up there in a card, and I'll update the other card once the Grand Arena is uploaded sometime tomorrow. But thank you for watching. Be safe out there, everyone. Be excellent to each other. This is still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.